evening, and I welcome you to your transformative program, Politics and Beyond. My name is Emmanuel Jr., the Chief Crusader Against Corruption here in Ghana. And I'm smiling, I'm full of smiles because anytime we get opportunity to communicate or have this platform, I'm so happy knowing very well that we are creating a solid platform, future transforming the country, the future of this country. And as I keep saying, if not for the sake of you and I, at least for the sake of the next generation, the children that we are even yet to give birth to. We want to make sure that when they come and they possess the various offices and the leadership roles, they'll be confident to look back and say that you and I, being their fathers and their forefathers, we were able to lay a good foundation for them. And so the country is better than how we will be living it. And so I welcome you. As always, you can get interactive with us using the various social media platforms that we have, including the WhatsApp line that will be exhibited on the screen. Some months back, I introduced you to a new face, and the new face was the fact that Crusaders Against Corruption, and for that matter, this platform, we have decided to take a new posture when it comes to the fight against corruption. And that has to do with using the proactive approach instead of using the reactive approach, which we've been doing over the past years. It is really funny that we want to do the same old things and expect a new result. If we are not fighting very well corruption in this country, it is simply because of the approach we are using. We won't sit and wait for corruption to occur before we come in and say that we are fighting it. We want to ensure that we put in the right structures to make sure that it will not even occur. And that is the proactive approach we're talking about. Last week, we discussed a very important issue, which was so dear, and it is still so dear to my heart, and it has to do with youth unemployment. Remember, we said that this country, Ghana, if we look at the danger that youth unemployment poses, we can only say that we are sitting on a time bomb. And so something needs to be done radically. And that is why, again, I want to use this platform to wish or express our deepest of condolence to individuals who lost their kids during last week's, how do we call it, the military recruitment or screening exercise. We still want to express our condolence to them. And we want to pray that this would never happen again. Today, we are looking at the budgets. Remember, the budget was read last week. And when I make reference to the budgets, I'm talking about the budgets. In fact, it was read last 2 weeks. So last 2 weeks was when it was read. The budgets making reference to what we need as a guideline as far as our finances are concerned as a country as we enter into 2026. So the 2026 budget was read, and that is why this evening we are going to have a look at the budget. And so the topic for discussion has to do with the 2026 Ghana's budget. That is what we are looking at. We are looking at whether or not the budget is of any relevance to you, to me, to those of us who will be described as common men or common persons, common citizens, the citizens on the street, those of us who go to the street to buy things, engage in businesses and all that. We want to find out whether or not this budget is of any relevance to us. And that is what we are looking at this evening. I want us to quickly go through the slides that we have as a background. And when we are done with that, we'll take a short break. And when we come back, I'll introduce to you the guests that we have who will help us go deeper into it. So we are looking at Ghana's 2026 budget and what it means for the common man, what it means for each and every one of us. And that's what we are looking at. Now, if you look at the budget, it's really discusses or focuses on 4 thematic areas. The first one has to do with economic transformation. So it's actually 3. The second one is job creation. And then the third one has to do with fiscal discipline. So the budget in its entirety, if you read it or you study it very well, this is what it's supposed to achieve: economic transformation, job creation, and then fiscal discipline. Now, when we talk of all things being equal, the highlights. First one, job creation. The budget prioritizes industrial revitalization, focusing on agro-processing. It focuses on light manufacturing, and it also focuses on export development. And clearly, this can lead to what we term as job opportunities. So job creation, that is what the budget looks at. The second one is digitalization. There are initiatives like digital tax administration systems, which aim to reduce revenue leakages and improve transparency. So that is also the second key highlight from the 2026 budget as read. The third one has to do with anti-corruption measures. It strengthens anti-corruption agencies and public online dashboards for project tracking, which are expected to promote accountability. So that is also the third thing, the key highlight from the budget as read. The fourth one has to do with social programs. The budget, when you read it, you realize that it's increased funding for education, healthcare, and poverty alleviation programs. And this clearly may benefit the vulnerable population. And when I make reference to the vulnerable population, I believe all of us know what the sector that we are talking about. Then the fifth one has to do with the energy sector. The budget also addresses energy sector challenges, potentially leading to improved power supply and economic growth. So those are the things. However, there are two things that comes out as challenges. The first one has to do with the inflation. So the inflation here, we are looking at the budget's impact on inflation and taxation, because this may influence the cost of goods and services. So that's the first challenge that comes out. The second one has to do with social protection. With social protection, we are saying that when you study the budget critically, you realize that social protection programs received insufficient funding, and that can potentially affect vulnerable groups. So these are the two main challenges or key concerns that came out after studying the budget. This evening, in all of this one, this evening, we are going to have a conversation, and we are going to center on or focus on 4 thematic areas. The first one has to do with anti-corruption. The second one has to do with civil society. The third one has to do with local government. And the fourth one has to do with gender equality. So this is going to be the focal point, or the areas that we are looking at as far as this evening's conversation is concerned. Remember that this is going to be, we are going to have some series on the budget, the 2026 budget. So this is the kick-starting of it, the first part of it. We are looking at anti-corruption, we are looking at civil society, we are looking at local government, and then we are looking at gender equality. So the first one, which is anti-corruption institutions. The 2026 budget aims to improve the effectiveness of anti-corruption institutions through several measures. The first one has to do with increased transparency. The second one has to do with strengthening anti-corruption agencies. The third one has to do with digitalization. And the fourth one had to do with public engagement. So if you look at the 2026 budget, with respect to the anti-corruption fight or institutions, it focuses on this. So the first one is the budget seeks to increase transparency, strengthen the anti-corruption agencies, introduce digitalization, and also engage in public activities or public engagement, initiatives to engage citizens and civil society organizations in monitoring government spending and projects. They are all parts of it. Of course, there are some concerns that have been raised. The first one has to do with political interference, and the second one has to do with weak institutional framework. So we'll see whether or not we will be able to achieve this, knowing very well these limitations: inadequate funding, political interference, and then weak institutions. So that's the first focus we are going to look at. The second one has to do with the civil society, as I indicated. Now, Ghana's 2026 budget again aims to improve the effectiveness of the civil service through several initiatives. The budget prioritizes industrial revitalization again, focusing on agro-processing, light manufacturing, and export development under the Ghana First strategy. And so the key areas, as far as civil service is concerned, the key areas that the budget want to, concentrate on, one has to do with digitalization. Two has to do with training and development. Three has to do with public sector reforms. And then the fourth one has to do with anti-corruption measures. All of this falls under the civil service. So when we talk of Ghana's civil service, these are the things that the budget seeks to do to improve upon it. However, concerns have been raised about the budget's allocation to social protection programs. And so clearly, this one also talks about limitation in terms of how much has been, allocated to civil service in this country. The third area that we'll be looking at is the local government service. When we talk of the local government service, the government plans to shift. In fact, there's also an improvement to ensure that local government services are enhanced or they are executed effectively. But it looks at 5 key areas under local government services. The budget, the 2026 budget, looks at 5 key areas. The first one is the localization of the SDG budgets. We'll talk about that into details when we come from the break. The second one has to do with increased transparency. The third one, again, strengthening anti-corruption agencies, digitalization, and then we also have the public engagement. So these are also the areas, as far as the budget is concerned, the areas that it wants to concentrate on with the intention of strengthening local government services in this country. Then comes the fourth area that we'll be looking at. The fourth area has to do with gender equality. A lot of people, and even on this platform, we've talked about the difference between equity and equality. So here we are looking at gender equality. And then with the gender equality, the budget talks about the fact that it actually made reference to the Gender Equality Act, and I'm making reference to the Affirmative Action Act 2024, which mandates that women should constitute a minimum of 30% of members in key decision-making bodies. Now, if you look at the budget, it seeks to increase this gradually to about 50%. And that is, progressive enough. In doing this, it is also looking at some thematic areas. The first one, in fact, 4 areas under gender. The first one is mandatory representation. So women must hold at least 30% of key decision-making positions, increasing to 50% over time. The budget seeks to look at that. The second one is gender-responsive budgeting. Government agencies will allocate funds to address gender-specific needs. That is what the budget also communicates to us. Tax benefits, and for me, I am a bit more interested in it. It says that private entities complying with the female employment regulations will receive tax incentives. So that is also one area that the 2026 budget seems to be looking at. The other one is protection against discrimination, which we all know. The law prohibits gender-based verbal abuse and discrimination, imposing penalties for violation. So that is what the budget also seems to advocate or establish. These are the areas that we are going to have our conversation on. We are looking at 4 key areas. The first one we are looking at is anti-corruption, the 2026 budget, and whether or not it is going to help us achieve what we've been talking about. How is it going to have an impact on the anti-corruption fight that we've been talking about, or the corruption fight that we've been talking about, and then by extension, the anti-corruption institutions and laws that we have. The second one is the civil service that we have in this country, how effective the budget will be in ensuring that civil service runs the way we expect it to run. Then the third one has to do with the local government service or the local government system. And that, again, the budget, whether or not the budget seems to, focus on that. Then the fourth area has to do with gender equality. So you realize that this evening we have a very packed conversation to have. And that is why I will not waste much time. I want us to take a quick commercial break, as we always do. And then even before we come back, you are at liberty to share in your comments this afternoon on the discussion platform. That's the WhatsApp platform of Politics and Beyond. There were some interesting conversations going on as far as this evening's topic is concerned. And so you're at liberty, share in your comments, share in your views, share in your questions that you may have on the topic that we are discussing this evening. And at the appropriate time, it will be read and we'll get engaging. Just stay tuned. I'll be right back after this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. Natural mineral water. Simply natural. For bulk purchase, call 0596 273 546 or 0596 273 547. This advert is FDA approved.
Hello, Ghana. Payday is here. Stand a chance to win instant cash prizes on Review Scratch for Win. Up to 100,000 Ghana cedis to be won today. Get ready to play Review Scratch for Win to win big on TV XYZ. Stop scrolling and start winning. It's simple. Dial *850*6# on all networks. Choose your card type and select your lucky card for a chance to win big. Play with at least 5 Ghana cedis or more. You could win up to 100,000 Ghana cedis in cash prizes instantly. Yes, you heard right. 100,000 Ghana cedis in cash prizes. Don't miss out on the chance to win big. Dial *850*6# to play it now. Review Scratch for Win. Scratch it again. It is casting power. You must be 18 years and above to play. Terms and conditions apply. This game is regulated and approved by the NMA and the Caritas Platform.
Welcome back to your transformative program, Politics and Beyond. I'm still your host, Emmanuel Jr. And as I indicated, this evening we are going to have a very packed conversation because we are looking at 4 different areas as far as the budget is concerned. But the ultimate is whether or not this 2026 budget is going to be of any benefits as far as you are concerned, as far as I'm concerned. We are looking at it from 4 areas or from 4 perspectives. The first one is anti-corruption, the second one is civil service, the third one is local government, and then the fourth one is gender equality. In fact, these 4 areas, whether we like it or not, when they are functioning very well, it will have a very positive effect on you and me. We are actually privileged to have with us someone who is not a stranger at all. In fact, a person I describe as my co-host because anytime he's one person who has so much interest in what happens on this platform, and he's a teacher and a lecturer who will always be marking what we do. And so, I mean, he's not a stranger at all. I'm making reference to the executive committee member of Crusaders Against Corruption Ghana and a political governance and public sector reform expert, a lecturer also with the University of Ghana. I'm talking about your own and my own, Dr. Daniel Appiah. Doc.
Right. As
good
usual,
to see you, Doc.
you.
It's good to see you. It's good to see you. It's always a privilege.
Ours will certainly be amicable. We will not fight.
You see,
yeah.
that's the thing. Doc, welcome to Politics
you.
and Beyond. It's been a while. I hope everyone is fine.
Everyone is doing
And
fine.
how was your day?
Oh, it's been quite okay. I mean, quite good. I think I'm settling in.
That's great.
Yes, I'm settling in. The new semester.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, you've resumed, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a special semester before school actually resumes. And
Okay.
so
okay.
means we are not actually, those of the business school, we are not going to have a break.
A break.
Before, yeah, just a short kind of break. And
It's well. It's well. Doc, last 2 weeks we had a budget read.
Yeah.
This evening we are looking at the 2026 budget as read. What's your first impression of the budget? Like when you heard of it, what happened? What came into your mind?
Right. I think looking at the budget, I think that there are many positive areas that one can actually pick. I think a day before the budget was read,
Yes.
I remember I spoke on one radio network, and I emphasized that one area that I want to see an action being taken is a COVID-19 levy, and I want that to be scrapped.
Very well.
Yeah, so when the budget was read and then it was announced that it has been scrapped, I was very happy about it because COVID-19, I mean, it came long ago. Countries have dealt with it. We were imposed, they imposed some harsh levies on us. We paid. If you are traveling to the airport, you pay levies and all that.
That's
and
right.
then whatever 5 years down the line, you're still paying. Yes, so I think it was unfair. And so to see such kind of positive step, I think it's a very, very good kind of thing. And I think there are other areas that I think we will talk about as well.
Very true. Talking of COVID-19, quickly, right after the budget being read or was read, something happened. I actually saw it on social media. A lot of people made fun of it, but I saw it from a different perspective, where a member of parliament granted an interview, I think a day or two after, and said that she engaged in some business activities and realized that the COVID-19 levy was still operational. A lot of people made fun of it. But what it brought to my attention was the fact that if we have a member of parliament at that level, not even appreciating the process, then we shouldn't take for granted the number of people who are on the street who will also have the same mindset or will even have a worse mindset. So for me, I saw an avenue for us to rather educate other than making fun. It is possible genuinely that member of parliament, even though it is sad that you be a member of parliament who is expected to know the terrain, the process. Can you, within a second or two, will you be kind enough to educate us on how or what the process is? When a budget comes and says that I'm scrapping, I'm taking off a certain tax or levy, what is the process to ensure that the ordinary person now will benefit from it?
I want to even read, the text, because the finance minister was categorical. Was very categorical. It wasn't like we will abolish the COVID-19 this year. He said with immediate effect. With immediate effect. You know, and so it is not something that someone could just after 2 days or 3 days then say, oh, at the end of the day, so the thing is still in the pipeline and then it will be scrapped. So it was taking effect immediately. And by abolishing it immediately, that step was going to put, Mr. Speaker, by abolishing the COVID-19 levy, government is putting 3.7 billion cedis in the pocket of individuals and businesses in 2026 alone. You know, and as I said, the finance minister was categorical that it was with immediate effect. And also once the budget is actually approved by members of parliament, we take it that at the end of the day, it has taken effect, and whatever that they say that they have abolished immediately at the end of the day, you know, it's abolished. You know, and so at the end of the day, it is very important that people have to take certain actions and steps of government very seriously. I think the country, sometimes we joke too much. I mean, things that are serious, we need to be very serious about it at the end of the day. if a particular tax has been abolished immediately, it is important that we all have to support and then praise the government and then support. And then rather ask the government, how the government is going to find that kind of money that is going to lose in order to hold the economy. Is it going to come from the growth board? Where exactly? And so we need to look forward rather than appreciating some of the positive steps that are taken.
So what it means is that even though the finance minister said that it's going to take place with immediate effect, the immediate effect will take place or commence after the budget has been accepted.
Approved.
Reading the budget doesn't necessarily mean that it has been approved.
No, it does not mean it has been approved. But once it says immediate effect, it means that at the end of the day, whenever it's accepted, it will have to take, they can do a retrospective kind of calculation.
Very well. So all those who were expecting that the budget was read today, the following day, whatever was said with regards to COVID-19 will be effected. We are telling you that whatever needs to be effected, relying on the word with immediate effect, will only take place after the budget has been approved. And the fact that the budget was read doesn't mean that the budget has been approved. Discussions and debates will take place after it has been read, and then it will take, pass through a certain process before, it goes to committee levels and all that. They will have all the extensive conversations on it. Then after, it will be approved. Remember, there was an instance in this country where, and I'm making reference to His Excellency Liman's administration, where a budget was read, but it was not approved. So the budget was rejected.
So and this kind of members can decide to say,
exactly,
we've
rejected it. So the fact that the budget has been read doesn't necessarily mean that instantly it has been accepted. So that is by way of education. Doc, we are looking at the budget again. That is what we are doing. But the budget with respect to anti-corruption institutions. We are always talking about how corruption affects the ordinary Ghanaian. How corruption affects the ordinary citizen. How corruption affects and robs the future of this country. The 2026 budget, you being an executive member of Crusaders Against Corruption, you appreciate it better. The 2026 budget, if you look at it, you study, you listen to what is the finance minister said, is there any hope with respect to us fighting corruption in this country?
I think that is one of my and it's our core area of interest when it comes to the work of Crusaders Against Corruption. And so it's one of the areas that I've analyzed quite carefully, and I think there are certain kind of promises in there, but I think that we still have got quite some long way to go. First, let me look at the promising areas. If you look at the 2026 budget, there is a promise now to establish a new value for money office that will actually ensure that government and the citizens derive value for money. I think this is something that has been long in the pipeline. And many of us have actually expressed the concern that there's too many anti-corruption agencies in Ghana. And so the promise in the budget to establish a single independent anti-corruption agency that will ensure value for money is good at the end of the day. But in terms of where exactly is this office going to be established, how is this going to be established? How much exactly has been allocated, to deal with it? How long is it actually going to take? I expected at least some kind of more information in that particular regard. Yes. And then if you also look at areas like internal auditing, where many of us have actually expressed concern, and internal auditors many a times have come out to state that they lack the independence to actually do their work and then to save the country from extensive corruption, and so they need a more independent agency that will be responsible not just for supervision, but also the recruitment and the management of internal auditors. And then since 2023, the internal audit service bill, urgency bill, has been on the drawing board of the cabinet, and we've not seen it pass. I was expecting to see that in this budget, some strong push will be given to strengthening internal auditing, because, mind you, many of the acts of corruption that are being reported, if internal audit units were to be working effectively in organizations, I think that they could have minimized many of the huge, acts of corruption that are being reported left, right, center. And so I don't see that kind of commitment, that kind of, a huge step being taken to actually strengthen the internal audit agency in terms of making internal auditors, employees, and then, under the internal audit agency, and then being managed from that particular angle. If yes, then the question is, how much has been allocated in the budget? What is the process? When is it going to be completed? I didn't see that anything in that particular kind of regard. And I think that also, once again, I think one agency that has been also at the forefront of the fight against corruption, which is the Office of Special Prosecutor. Absolutely. I keep asking myself, when is the OSP's budget going to feature in the national budgets that is presented to Parliament? I expect to see that at least the OSP as an office has come of age. And just like many offices, like the Internal Audit Agency, Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, you see their budgets in there. I expect to see that there is a separate provision for the OSP to present its budget, and then to defend it, to show exactly how it is going to use its money, to show exactly how it is going to build capacity. But consistently, we've not seen that in the budget. And so I don't know why this keep coming up. But I will urge members of Parliament that, in spite of the fact that the OSP's budget is not seen within the budget, it is very, very important that we pay special attention to that. Of course, the OSP has not been able to secure us any single major prosecution. If you look at on its own website, the 7 cases that they have listed there, all of them, they say ongoing. But of course, the fact that their investigations ongoing and they've been able to stop many kind of transactions, at the end of the day, that itself should yield some kind of positive thing. The OSP itself has been crying many years since the days of Martin Amidu, that they lack the financial kind of support, they lack the budgetary things. And so it is important that we see what quantum of money has been allocated to the OSP, which areas strategically are those kind of monies going to, so that we'll have some kind of assurance that that office will be taken seriously. And so in terms of anti-corruption, so the positive step that one sees in the budget is the step to establish this independent statutory back value for money kind of office, as an independent maybe office that will have to work with the Auditor General, the Internal Audit Agency, the Ministry of Finance, and others to be able to save us from this monster called corruption. But in that way, the tennis, where is it going to be established? How is it going to be established? How much has actually been allocated for it? And when should we expect that this is going to be completed at the end of the day? And if it's going to be completed in 2026, then it means they have how many years? About 2 more years to leave office. Are we actually going to see fruits? Yes. And I've also seen the Auditor General in the same budget, once again, just like 2025, made any report on surcharge. And I keep saying that since the days of the Melevo, if this Auditor General who has been there and then is on contract, if he thinks he cannot do the job, then he should get out of the way for another person who can do the job to come. And so since 2025, 2026, 2024, you don't see the Auditor General make any single kind of pronouncement or submit anything in the budget in terms of his report to say that I've surcharged Asumesi or Benteng for having squandered our money. All that they keep on reporting, well, we've recovered this, we've recovered that, we've recovered this. How did they recover it? And what is the assurance that's really, much is going to be recovered in the absence of the exercise of surcharge? And we also saw how many people actually and many officials, began to sit down when the level was exercising the power of surcharge. But consistently, you don't see the Auditor General say anything about surcharge. And I think that is one area where we actually need to focus on, and then hold the Auditor General really accountable. Of course, I think maybe this year or so is a contract will come to an end. Maybe they don't want to, the government don't want to be seen as one that at the end of the day is, you know, putting pressure on the auditor general. If you can't do it, get out of the way. People will say you are witch hunting. But so mind you, waiting for exactly for its tenure to come to an to expire. But who is it affecting? It's affecting you and I.
Exactly.
And so we need to deal with it.
Because we are paying him at the end of every month.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. So MP should call him to order at the end of the day to that, yes, before we approve, as the budget has been read, before we approve and release of this this money for your agency, we must go into an agreement. If you cannot exercise the search, if you cannot recover this X and Y amount, then at the end of the day, we are sorry. We think that we cannot release this kind of amount for you. Let your tenure expire. Let whoever will come, and then let us release the money to the person to do the job.
There's this country, it just escaped me, but it's an African country where they have a standing convention. That I'm not sure it's a law, but it's a convention that says that before they introduce or establish any new office, they do the various analysis to make sure that the returns from that office outweighs the investment they make into that office. So, for instance, if Ghana was that country, they would have, before establishing the office of the special prosecutor, would have said that the office of the special prosecutor is going to take us X amount of money to operate 1 year.
Right.
That 1 year, we are expecting that the office will be able to give us X plus 1 amount. So that the amount, the returns, the revenue that the office is expected to bring to the country outweighs that of the investments we are making. You make mention of value for money office. In fighting corruption, the institutions are very key. Just as the laws and then the will, they are all very key. Value for money office falls under the institutions. Whatever office this is going to be, or however it's going to operate, it is going to cost the taxpayer. Looking at our experience, having the office of the special prosecutor, having IOCO, having SHRAJ, having all the other anti-corruption institutions, do you think that the budgets, you were making reference fantastically to the fact that we even need to resource some of these institutions and all that, the monies that we always allocate through the budgets, do you think that we are getting revenue, beneficial revenue from these institutions that should give us, you know, the ground to say that we want to establish another office known as the value for money office?
You know, Willie, I think sometimes we have to also hold the members of parliament to task, because the law is clear whenever a new institution is going to be established, that it must be accompanied by a value for money, you know, analysis. They have to show clearly how that new institution is actually going to benefit the country. Many a times, I don't remember the last time that any agency or institution was established or any kind of bill was passed that kind of value for money analysis accompanied the bill. And so perhaps maybe it must also be a matter of capacity. But the thing is that once we put something in the law, it is very important that we uphold it. Perhaps maybe 2026 going forward, we all in the civil society space must now rise up. Whatever, if a bill is submitted to parliament and it is not accompanied by this value for money analysis, we perhaps will have to go to court and then say this cannot be passed if what is in the law, which says this must be accompanied by this kind of analysis, if it is not part of it. Because I think we all must take the blame. We sit in civil society and then we keep quiet or we just watch on. And so new institutions are created, new acts are passed, and then that kind of value for money analysis is not part of it. Whilst MPs do not uphold it, those in civil society also sit unconcerned. And so perhaps I say going forward, it is something that all of us will have to sit up and at the end of the day ensure that it is done, because it's part of it. Before the thing gets to cabinet, at the end of the day, if you go to the cabinet's memoranda, the things that are supposed to be done, it's all part of it. Before it is passed, it goes to parliament. All those things must be accompanied. And so if it is not part of it, then we should not. And we must uphold our own laws. We have too many good laws in the books, and yet we the citizens and then those in parliament, civil society, we just sit and we don't do what we have to do.
Yeah. There's one other aspect of it, and that has to do with political interferences. So we have all the institutions that we already have. Most of them are not working effectively, and the reason that is easily attributed to their ineffectiveness has to do with political interferences. And I wouldn't want us to play the ostriches, knowing very well how our structure is, especially our 92 Constitution is. It is such that almost all heads of these institutions are appointed by a political person, either the president or the minister. I mean, someone who is politically exposed. And so the allegiance ordinarily is towards the one who appointed them. You know, how effective will still, if we are talking about anti-corruption institutions, establishing value for money office, assuming, and for me, from all indication where I sit, I won't be surprised that the budget will be passed in its entirety, because the current government has the majority. They can easily do that. So, assuming it is passed, value for money office is established. A new institution has been introduced into the anti-corruption environment or arena. Having in mind the political interferences that has weakened the already existing institutions, how do you think that we can, effectively operate this new office so that whatever money that will be allocated to this office through the budget, Ghanaians will indeed get value for money?
Well, this thing comes back to what we all know to be the major hindrance, which you have talked about, the issue of political interference. And we've all pointed out the fact that so long as it is the Attorney General who is the chief prosecutor, who is, the chief organization that is supposed to lead the recovery of loot from those who have actually, looted our coffers. It is going to be very, very difficult for us to fight against corruption. And so when the office of special prosecutor was being created and people were making a lot of noise about the supposed independence of this office, a lot of things were raised about the fact that no matter how this office is structured, still it must cooperate, must work with many agencies before it will be effective. And true. And we've heard the OSP talk about many offices or many organizations that they were supposed to cooperate with them, and sometimes how difficult it has been to get that kind of cooperation. And so in the absence of the constitutional reform that we are all looking forward to, and then to structure a more independent organizational structure, I don't think that this new value for money office is going to actually make any kind of difference at all, And so it is very important that, yes, we take the fight against corruption seriously. But if we are not going to actually, create a more independent anti-corruption agency, and it's going to be another agency that must rely on the Attorney General at the end of the day to do the prosecution and all those in the recovery, then we are not going to move forward. That takes us to a very important thing. If you read the whole budget, 2026, where is the Constitutional Review Commission's work or committee's work?
Very important.
In fact, it is not even mentioned. It is not mentioned in there. And so, at the end of the day, that raises the issue of, well, if we all recognize the fact that the country needs a constitutional reset, it is important to restructure the anti-corruption architecture within the constitutional framework. But we pass or we read the 2026 budget and we don't see a single mention of a step being taken to advance the constitutional review process. Then it raises many serious questions about what we can actually achieve within this from 2026 even to 2027. Because if a lot of the groundwork is not done, if you look at the work of the Constitutional Review Commission that the former President Atta Mills set up, they had to go around the entire country. They had to do a lot of work, and it involved a lot of money. The United Nations had to step in and all that. So if we ourselves, reading 2026 budget, we are not making, or we are not taking any step in the budget to make appropriate financial provisions for the work to be, to move forward in that direction. I think it gives me a lot to worry about whether really we are actually going to see a comprehensive, meaningful constitutional, reform process taking place within this particular tenure of government. It gives me a lot to worry. At least there should be a mention out there that the constitutional, review process is actually going to be deepened, and then perhaps maybe some bills are going to be sent to Parliament, and then some stakeholder engagement. This is how much it's going to cost. This how much has been allocated for it. But there is nothing like that in the budget. And so all those who have been advocating for the constitutional reform, I think that if they look at just the budget alone, they may be disappointed because there is nothing like that said about it.
You and I are one of the few individuals in this country that believe strongly in the constitutional review.
Right.
We've talked about this so many times. Do you think, in all honesty, that we will be disappointed at the end of the current government's tenure?
Well, I want to believe in the mid-year budget review that will come. For now, I want to hedge and then wait. That if we have not seen anything, maybe I think I've heard in some circles that the report has not been submitted by Professor Kwesi Prempeh's committee to the president. And so once it is submitted, then at the end of the day, something may come. But even that, I expected that before a report is submitted, we all know the magnitude of the work involved.
Exactly.
And so something will have been put in place.
That's
and
right.
So we will look forward now to the mid-year review. If by mid-year we don't see concrete steps being taken in terms of making financial provisions, both for education, widespread education and all the things that we want to see, then we should certainly be prepared, to be very disappointed in terms of seeing a comprehensive constitutional review, perhaps in the during the tenure of this government. So yes, mid-year, let's see what will happen. But for now,
right,
there are no, positive signs for me on the ground to say
so
that.
if we are judged, or we are judging by the current information we have, it is so clear that we don't have any positive
No,
signs
I don't see
to
any.
give us any hope
Yeah.
that indeed we are making any significant progress
No,
with regards
no.
to
And making
the
financial
constitutional
provisions and all that.
for
Yeah.
that. Doc, let's quickly move to the other area, the civil service. Civil service, and one other which is so dear to me, local government. I wanted us to take it one by one, but let's combine the two, civil service and local government. Local government is key. Local government carries everything in this country. It's just that for a very long time, we've not really been able to appreciate what local government really is in this country. Because if we do, and we want to go by even the law that governs local government operations, I have always said that being an MC, DC, and the rest should have been so powerful.
Very good.
And it should have helped us so much as a country in development than even being a member of parliament or even being a regional minister or what have you, sector minister. Let's look at the budget as read. What are its implications as far as effective local government system is in this country?
Right. Well, maybe let me briefly, pass a comment on the civil service.
Yes, please. So the two.
And then we'll focus more on the local government sector. So, I guess I'm happy to note in the budget that there is an effort that and a provision, being made to reform or review the current Civil Service Act. Because one of the things that for those of us in the governance space continue to point out, that you cannot have a non-partisan, a neutral, an impartial, a competent civil service if you have a system where the government or the president is appointing or has a role in the appointment of even directors and then chief directors. If you go from section 19 to 20 to 35 of the Civil Service Act, in any case, the civil service law itself came into force on the 6th of January 1993, a day before the Fourth Republic Parliament actually sat.
Right.
And so it was as if let us rush it and then let us get us done before even Parliament actually sits. And if you look at the rules in there, it does not actually support a system where a competent, non-partisan, apolitical civil service can actually emerge within a competitive democratic setup where you have two political parties fiercely fighting and contesting for control over who gets appointed as chief, as director, and all that. And we see that as the competition for political power heats up, now many in that particular space, I'm talking about the civil service, there have been many complaints that at the end of the day, there's a lot of political interferences here and there. And so there is a need for us to be able to reform the Civil Service Act and to be able to craft and then create a more independent and a more neutral, non-partisan civil service that can actually boldly advise government, boldly support government to formulate appropriate policies, and then lead us in the way that certainly will promote development in this country. So I'm happy to see in the budgets that at least there is a mention that finally the 2023 Civil Service bill, which has also been on the table for quite a long time, also 2024, they are going to push it up. And so thumbs up to the OECS, that's the Office of the Head of Civil Service. And I will urge the CLOSAC, that is the Association of Civil and Local Government, Association of Ghana, the members to pay particular attention to the content of that kind of bill that is going to be passed, or that is going to be submitted to Parliament for consideration, and so that we can have a better civil service. That then brings us to the local government, and that certainly is a very big space and a very important sector. If you look at the budget, once in 2026, that is a space that we expect that there should be a lot of impact in local communities, because 8.9 billion Ghana cedis has been allocated to the MMDAs, that is to the District Assemblies Common Fund, 8.9 billion Ghana cedis. And this is the huge or the biggest amount that we've seen for many years. So it is an increase on the previous year's money that was allocated to the local government. But here is also the thing. While this huge amount of money has been allocated to the sector, I believe that the government, central government, is treating the MMDAs, as the Metropolitan, Municipal and District Assemblies, as if it is being managed by people who are unable to really think for themselves about what kind of development projects that they want. Why do I say so? You read the budget, and last year, when a big amount of money was released for the District Assembly's Common Fund, we complained that it is not the business of government, central government, to sit at the top there and dictate to those in local communities, airport area, Adenta area, Ayawaso, to say, look, use 25% of that budget for health. Use 10% of that budget for environment. Use 10% of that budget for school furniture. Use 10% of that budget for health, and then at least 2 chiefs compound. In the education sector, use about 10%. Make sure that you have built at least 1 KG block, 1 JHS block, 1 primary school block. Come on. I mean, we are talking about serious development. And so in the areas where they have this, now they have to now go to a new bureaucratic kind of process to go and then seek approval to say, we already have this. Can we use the money for something different? It is very important that we need to strengthen the accountability mechanisms that govern the local government system. People around Adenta, Airport, Ayawaso, I mean, there are many people there, I mean, huge numbers of citizens with high levels of education, assembly members, of course, many of them have high levels of education. And I continue to say, even before independence, the colonial governors were even allowing the native authorities to plan themselves and to decide how they use their resources to embark on development. How much more after independence? Over 60 years after independence, we are sitting at the center and then dictating, use 10% for this, use 5% for this, use 20% for this, as if people don't know exactly what kind of development that they want. And that kind of dictatorial kind of, policies where we are tying the hands of district assemblies to decide, for central government to decide where the money should go, it undermines and constrains development. Because if you are constraining what I can use the money to do at the end of the day, then all that I have to do is just to go and then sit out there and perhaps decide where to put a school, where to put a KG block, where to put a church compound, and then all those things. What is the value of that for me? If we really want to actually transform the local economy, it is not about dividing the money into something like a kind of money now for the assemblies to spend. Some of them need big infrastructure kind of push, big industrial kind of push to partner with the private sector to be able to move the local economy forward. And so I do not think that it is appropriate and it is against any principles of local governance for the center to dictate what percentage of money should actually be used for what kind of project. What is use 25% for 24-hour model market? What is that? What is 24-hour model market? And so if you, I don't know what that is, you know, and so I don't know if you go to Cape Coast, Kotokraba or Takrady, where you have these big markets now springing up. Is it that now the people now have to go and then sit and then now decide what is that they want and come back to the government to say, look, we already have this big market, and so give us the space now to decide how to use the money. No, it is very important that at the end of the day, money has been released, but we have to put and then strengthen the mechanism. We have to put in place mechanism and strengthen it. Before the money is released to you, the law says you and the people must plan. So what did you plan?
That's right.
What kind of projects did you plan? What are your development priorities? What is the cost at the end of the day? So that once the money is released, then we know that those plans have already been made. Those priorities have already been made at the end of the day. Then we can hold them accountable. But if you now release it, say, use some for KG and then primary school, are these things that moves local economic development? No, these are not the things that move things. And so let local governance be local governance. Let the people and the MMDAs decide with their people how to make a big effect on the lives of people down there. And we should not sit at the top and then constrain development at the local level.
Doc, with local governments and with what you've said, clearly local government is supposed to be a backbone when it comes to development in this country or in any serious country. Over the past years, we've been getting budgets allocation to the local government. It looks like we've not really benefited much from what local governments ought to do. This 2026 budget, I am so happy you've made mention of the fact that it suggests as though decisions were centralized and it has been imposed on the local governments, MMDCs and the rest. And sometimes some of the decisions or proposals from this budget may not even be relevant to some of the districts or municipal assemblies that we have. Do you think that the local government structure as we have it, it is just an avenue for us to be wasting our taxpayers' money?
Well, I think I will not say it is an avenue for us to waste taxpayers' money. The problem is that we as a country have not been committed in building the capacity of local government. And after the budget was read, I was one of the resource persons who engaged the members of parliament to discuss the implications of it for the local government sector. Of course, and it emerged that if you look at the metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies, their staff capacity is over 34,000 or so. But many of the personnel in that sector are administrative, officers, and not the technical officers that we're actually looking for in terms of engineers, the surveyors, the development planners, to move and then to drive forward that particular sector. And so long as that sector lacks the critical technical staff, to actually help in driving forward the development agenda there, and it is overchoked with administrative officers who sit in the office and then working on papers and not the technical kind of stuff, we are going to face a challenge. And so I am expecting that with the amount of money that has been allocated for capacity building, in the budget. We have to now focus our attention on how that money is used to re-equip, to realign capacity at that particular kind of sector. The government and then the minister particularly should not sit and then perhaps maybe say that the sector has been overstaffed with administrative personnel and it is not the current government that actually caused that kind of problem, and then therefore they are just going to sit and then look on unconcerned, because that is a sector that at the end of the day is expected to make a lot of impact on the lives, the daily lives of people in local communities. But if the technical staff is absent, what should we do? It is important that we have to realign, we have to redesign, and then we have to, at the end of the day, re-equip and then recapacitate that particular sector. And so it is very important that the money that has been allocated to that sector in the 2026 budget, particularly in terms of capacity building, we have to actually pay particular attention and look at how we can use that money to retool the sector in terms of capacity building. Otherwise, as you rightly noted, I mean, much of the money that is put out, that has been, pushed down there, even where people have sat and then they've planned in terms of what kind of development projects that we need, you lack the technical kind of staff and then skills to drive forward the development agenda. We are going to see people from Accra, people from China and other places going down there now to execute what the engineers and surveyors and others should have been executing. And so a lot of the money is now going to actually now move outside even of the country. And so this is something that I think that we need to tackle.
I agree with you. I'll come back to you. I want to quickly go through one or two messages that we have here to involve our viewers and our listeners. This one says that, Mr. Wilson, the budget is just formidable. Roads are the hallmark of this plan, and kudos to our presidents. Please highlight the road of the Ministry of Energy at Tema Community 25. That stretches from the Doenya-Afenya Road to the Kings and Roda Road to the Ministry of Energy to Michelle Camp. This road is just second to the Tema Aflao Road, and all the trucks meant to supply materials to almost the Aflao Road ply this road. That links to various other roads to the Ashaman, Akosombo, and all that. Okay, so please, all right, so this is Hula. Tommy, thank you so much. We'll look at the roads, in subsequent episodes. This one says, good evening. Please kindly tell President Mahama that he should please reduce taxes on our salaries. Now we are suffering. Thank you. You didn't add your name. This one says, the OSP is playing with the minds of Ghanaians. You also didn't add your name. Hello, Mr. Wilson. I suggest the President reappoint Domlevo back to his work as on contract, I guess that's what I want to say. He must let the Ghanaian know that this decision is critical and good for this nation for now. Any appointment from His Excellency Akufo-Addo is a killer to this nation. Same action should be taken against the OSP. And again, this is from Tommy. Okay, you didn't tell me where you are testing from. Please, government must bring back the toll booth as soon as possible to generate funds in the road construction. Okay, not so clear. You didn't add your name. Please beg the financial ministry and health ministry to pay our NSS allowance, nurses and midwives for us since we finished service in May 2025 and we are not even part of the budget. So when will the payments be done? Thank you. You didn't add your name. Okay, I'll come back to the text messages. But Doc, so we've talked about the local government system. I want us to, because of time, I want us to move to the last area for this evening's conversation, and that has to do with gender. Right. We've talked about gender equality. We talk about, sometimes when we talk of gender, the first thing that comes into our mind is women. So where's the role of the man? But, that's just on the lighter side. But gender equality. Yeah. What do you see from the budgets as far as marginalized population or sector of this population is concerned?
Well, Ghana is a member of the United Nations, and one of the key sustainable development goals is to achieve gender equality. That's SDG 5 or Goal 5. And we signed on to it. And so if you look at the bill that was sent to Parliament, that is the Affirmative Action Bill, into brackets, it was gender equality. Why was it gender equality? One, because a lot of analysis has gone into the issues of gender equality, gender equity. And many experts have come to the conclusion that countries that really are very serious in promoting gender equality, that is equal rights to resources, equal rights to the basic needs for well-being, equal rights to positions in government, equal right to public sector governance. These countries are able to move forward faster because you find both men and then women putting their heads and then their ideas together, both at the executive level, in the boardroom, and then wherever. A classic case is Rwanda.
Yeah.
Rwanda, at the end of the day, rose up from the genocide and then now empowered, both sides, that is men and then women, and then today Rwanda has been able also to make some giant kind of strides. But the bill that was sent to Parliament, which was approved by Parliament, was the Gender Equality Bill. At the end of the day, between the time that the bill was approved and then the time that the executive should sign the bill, they changed this from that now to gender equity. Now, why do I emphasize this? Now, when you come to the budget, it is so difficult, for instance, to be able to calculate a project like Nkokon Keteng, how you are going to proceed in the line of gender equity at the end of the day. Ghana is not the only country that has tried to do a gender kind of bill or a gender kind of budget. Countries that make advancement are those that have been able to actually push for gender equality in terms of the distribution of resources.
Right.
And once the equality was taken away, now after the budget, or when the budget is going to be made, projects like Nkokon Keteng, 1 million coders program, apprenticeship kind of program, you struggle and may struggle a lot to be able to actually calculate the issue of gender equity. How do you proceed with it? But if you have gender equality, which was approved by Parliament but was not accepted by the executive, if it is 1 million coders program, we know that 500,000 of men are going to benefit from this, 500,000 of women are going to benefit from this. Yeah. If it is in Nkokon Keteng program, we then know that equal number of male and female are going to benefit. If it is scholarship kind of program at the district assembly level, National Scholarship Secretariat, you know that if you give 5 scholarships to men, you have to give 5 to women at the end of the day. That is how you move the country forward at the end of the day. But once you remove that, go and read the budget. You struggle to even find the word equity in the budget. I looked at it, it occurs about just twice. Almost everywhere, including even under the Ministry of Gender itself, it is gender equality. But the act that was passed, they have removed the equality bit from it. Once you remove this baseline of equality, you are really going to struggle. So nowhere, whether in the appendix or in the budget, is there any kind of commitment or any kind of effort to advance the Gender Equality Act at the end of the day. And it is important that we take note of it. It is not a matter of, there is no legislative instrument. I'm looking forward to see how a legislative instrument is going to be crafted in the to back the gender equity kind of act that will enable any ministry, organization, or agency to be able to draft a gender equity budget. I've not seen one in any kind of country. And so unless perhaps we have to go back to a drawing board, if the previous government was not interested in gender equity, and this is a call that I made, at least to our vice president, to our president, in their manifesto, they promise advancing gender equality. We have to go back to the drawing board. The bill that was passed in Parliament, which was the Gender Equality Bill, that enables us to be able to design programs and to apportion equally the distribution of resources, but which was not accepted by the previous executive. Let us give back to policymakers what they actually accepted, because it is only on that platform that we can make actually greater progress. If we remove now the baseline for the distribution of that, and we go on this vague, flimsy, whatever, in terms of gender equity, you go in there and then sit there and then put whatever expert together, and then they should, and then get them to design a gender equity kind of budget. I don't know how they are going to make kind of great progress. So we all have to learn. Ghana, once I always say, Ghana is not the only country where there are experts. Ghana is not the only country where there are intellectuals. And so at the end of the day, where people have met globally and they've done all the analysis, and then they've seen that countries make greater advancement by pursuing gender equality kind of policies and then programs, and therefore you are a signatory to it, and you come back and your people say, yes, we favor it, we've passed or supported the gender equality bill, it has come out, and you, one person, say, no, I'm not going to support it unless you remove it from it. And now it affects the development, it affects our ability to do this kind of calculations. I don't think it is fair enough. What both men and women in that house fought for and what the country fought for is what we must actually advance. Otherwise, I don't think that they are going to make any kind of serious progress and in the area of this gender equity kind of act. And so let's go back to the drawing board. It is not gender equity that Parliament actually accepted. It was changed somewhere between the process of after the passage and then the signing. Let's go back to the drawing board and then let's get it done. Then when we look at the budget, we say, 500,000 males, let's go and find them. 500,000 females, let's find them. 1 million coders program, let's find 500,000. Let's find 500,000 here. And then we move on. Otherwise, we'll just be joking around and then we'll not be able to make progress. So that's my take on it.
Fantastic. This one says, good evening, Mr. Wilson. Your guest, Dr. Appiah, is 100% truthful and he has understanding to the position. Lovely man. Watching you live from Ajay Kojo. Good work done. You didn't add your name. Okay, Mr. Wilson, great discussion by your panelist. That's Dr. Appiah. My question is, does the local government service going to recruit the necessary personnel for AIDS development? Okay, so let me see if I can rephrase the question for you. My question is, will the local government service recruit the necessary personnel for AIDS development? Best regard, this is Papa. Okay, so that's a question. Let me just take this last one, a number of messages, but let me just pick one. Mr. Wilson, your guest gave an address recently at an award ceremony organized by CLOSAC. Is it true? Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Organized by CLOSAC at the CLOSAC auditorium. And the address was so deep that people who were seated by me praised him for his address. And this is Billa from Lower McCarthy Hill. Of course, Billa, I mean, that is why he's my guest. That's why he's my guest. I mean, yeah, he's such a deep person. Good evening, Mr. Wilson. Please, government is recruiting people into many sectors: police, assistants, fire service, and so on. When will Ghana Education Service recruit teachers as part of the youth employment? Okay, that's fine. As I said, okay, I've just stolen one more message, but that's fine. All right, so this is it. Doc, let me just, I don't know if there's a question that came so clear for you. Will you be able to answer it? The question is not so clear to me, though. But it says that my question is, when will the local government service recruit the necessary personnel for its development? Well, yes, so, you know more about the local government, yeah.
Willie, before recruitment is done, clearance is given at the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
And so going forward, I will strongly urge the government to make sure that a staff audit is done immediately across the MMDAs for us to be able to determine the areas where the MMDAs are in critical need of personnel. Yeah. So that if the local government submits requests for clearance and it does not fall within those critical areas, it should not be given. Because the place is overchoked, it's overstaffed with administrative personnel. But you struggle to find development planners, you struggle to find surveyors, you struggle to find engineers who must be on the ground to do the job. And so that's why when it rains, everywhere is flooded, because the men who must be there to do the job and the women are not present. And so it is important that we have to do a staff audit. And I don't think that it is going to take more than 1 month or 2 months to do that audit. I've seen the database. I've seen the data in terms of what kind of staff actually exists out there. And once they go out there to go and then verify and then do the audit, this thing should be done easily. And so I will urge the government, to constitute whether they will have to mandate the office of the head of local government service, one, to put a hold on all recruitment, and as soon as possible, within 1 month or not more than 2 months, submit to the presidents and then to the Ministry of Finance, the current staff capacity, and at the end of the day, that should be sent to the Ministry of Finance. Right. And if request for clearance does not fall within the critical areas, that should actually not be accepted. So secondly, there a lot of money has also been earmarked for capacity building. Okay. And so the staff within the service who need retooling, who need, reposting to other areas to build their capacity, we have to use that kind of money, part of it actually, to build their capacity, so that we can get more staff in areas that are where we need critical
manpower. Our time is fast spent, but I'll give you the opportunity to summarize all that you said within a minute or two. But there's this message that has really caught my attention, which I agree with the tester, though he didn't add his name. He says that I agree with your panelist about the Nkokon Kitenkite. Government should identify individuals who are already in poultry business poultry business, and support them to expand, and shouldn't give them to people who don't have the experience. This is something I really agree with. I think that we'll find time to discuss. As I said, this is just we've kickstarted the discussion on the budget. So subsequent episode will be going into the various sectors very well, and we'll talk about it. But Doc, quickly, your last word.
Right. My last word is that at the end of the day, there are many positive steps that are being taken by the government, but at the same time, what brought this country to its knees, and we had to now do haircut on people's monies and all that, was massive corruption in the system. But we are not seeing significant steps being taken to address the anti-corruption issues. We are not seeing significant steps being taken to ensure that there is comprehensive constitutional reform. The constitutional reform is not even mentioned in the budget. Exactly. And so if we are not going to tackle the big kind of projects, and we are going to continue to do things small, we are not going to achieve much. At the same time, too, it is important that Ghana has come of age for us to be able to give an equal push to both men and women in this country. If the previous government was not interested in giving that kind of equal push, although Parliament accepted it, I will throw that challenge to this current government. Let us push both men and women by revising the Equity kind of Act, and then set the standards that we have actually committed to at the United Nations. That's gender equality. And I believe that we will be able to move forward better than we currently are. Thank you.
That's an interesting one. Thank you so much, Doc. All too soon, this where time will allow us. We've really run into... we've gone beyond our time, but it's all good. I'm sure next week we'll continue the conversation still on the budget. We want to thank Doctor so much for this insightful conversation. I have learned a lot. I believe you have also. There's a budget that is tying your future and my future. And so it is important we appreciate the content of it. And so in terms of local government, anti-corruption, civil service, and then gender equality, I believe we have learned a couple of things, and our minds have been exposed to a number of things. I want to appreciate, Pius Blay, who is doing the watching. I want to appreciate Dr. Bukari, lecturer at the University of Development Studies, who is also doing the viewing. Patrick of Radio Gold. Patrick, thank you so much. You are such a consistent a lover of this show. Anytime you are with us and you are sending in messages. I want to also thank Uncle Gonda, who is also watching. Gonda is with Daily Guide newspaper. And of course, my own uncle, who is all watching and has always been watching me from my hometown, Ibri. And I'm making reference to Uncle Forsen, Wafa Forsen. Thank you so much for doing the viewing. I want to thank each and every one of you. On your behalf, I want to say a big thank you to Doc Charlie. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Abigail Apia. She'll grab you.
Mrs. Abigail Apia. We love you so much. And thank you for always allowing Dr. Apia to come on our show and to leave you and to come and join us. We want to say thank you so much. We love you so much. And we wish to see you one of these days. It's been a while since you visited. Please come and visit us one of these days. All too soon, this is where time will allow us. So we meet again next week, same time on your transformative platform, Politics and Beyond. All I can say for now is good night.